Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto was the Dark Phoenix of Konoha. Naruto has a big secret, he isn't the dead last he appears to be. But why would he show that before he is ready to deal with the stones the council loves placing in his way? The Sandaime, having opened his eyes, will do his best to make sure that Konoha will retain the will of fire. Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard. Chapter 21, Return to Konoha. Back in Konoha, Team 7 was debriefed by the Hokage this time. The mission was too high ranked to just give a short report to a Chunin in the mission office and hand in a written report. Though Kakashi would still have to hand in the report, together with his students, as they all had done parts of the mission that were at least B ranked. Kakashi gave the first report, then Naruto filled in the part of the assassination of the camp and the base where he had been doing the killings, and, in the end, Sasuke and Sakura reported on their part in the village of taking out the thugs. Then Kakashi reported about the behavior of the three Chunins that had been sent to be backup for his team, which made the Hokage frown. He hadn't thought that Chunin would go against his orders like that. Even if the team they had to support had Naruto in it, they would face disciplinary measures. There was no way he would tolerate that kind of behavior from his subordinates. The last thing Kakashi informed the Hokage about was the amount of money and the documents he and Naruto had confiscated from Gato. He also handed over the 3 prisoner scrolls that held Haku, Sani, and Kimi. In these 3 prisoner scrolls are 3 ninjas of Jonin level that Naruto and I caught. I think the T&I department of the Umbu should interrogate them for information. If they are willing, we might want to consider for them to join our ranks. Haku isn't in the bingo book, Sani and Kimi are. All 3 have a bloodline limit. Haku has ice release, Sani has steel release, and Kimi has poison touch. Haku is in stasis and has injuries that would need to be treated, and the other 2 have just been drugged. Kakashi informed the Hokage. That's indeed fortunate for the village. If we can convince them to join our ranks, we would have 3 powerful ninjas to support us. I will also make sure that the bounties for the IWA ninjas and Aoi will be transferred to your and Naruto's accounts. Sasuke and Sakura, you will receive the equivalent of the payment for an A-rank mission and a recommendation for performance above your level for your files. Additionally, you are forbidden to talk about the details of this mission with anybody that doesn't have the clearance for A-rank missions, meaning the Jonin and Umbu. This mission could have given Konoha a lot of problems if it hadn't gone like it did. There is information that could harm the village if it gets into the wrong hands. The Hokage said. Both genin nodded. This is about the IWA nins and how they reacted to finding out that Naruto is an Uzumaki, isn't it? Sasuke asked. Yes. Not many people know this today anymore, but the Uzumaki clan was once our strongest ally. And Naruto is well on his way to regain the knowledge of his clan. In some way you can compare the importance of Naruto not being exposed too soon with yourself, Sasuke. The Uchiha and the Uzumaki were very close in skill level and strength in the past. It was as much thanks to Uzushio's support that we won the second ninja war as it was to our own ninja's strength. The Hokage said. Sasuke nodded and looked at the 4 pictures of the Hokages on the wall. He noticed a certain similarity between the 4th and Naruto. He filed that information away for later consideration. I need to talk with Kakashi and Naruto about some things in private, so you are dismissed, Sasuke and Sakura. You have the next 3 days off, then you will restart your training. The Hokage informed them. They both bowed and left the office. When they were outside, Sakura turned to Sasuke. What do you think they are talking about that we can't hear? She asked. I guess it is about the IWA nins. There is more going on than they are telling us. One piece of advice, Sakura, don't get on Naruto's bad side. You have just heard what the Hokage said about his importance. We have both seen how strong he is, and as much as I hate to admit it, at the moment he is stronger than me. I will catch up to him as soon as I can, but I also have realized that Naruto and I are more similar than I thought. You will regret it if you don't treat him properly. Sasuke said and left. Sakura was wondering why he had told her that. It was also one of the longest talks she had had with him. But he was right. Naruto was strong. This mission and what she had had to do had really opened her eyes to her chosen profession. And she knew she needed to find a way to do more for her team. She had learned a lot over the 2 months she had been a genin now, and she had massively improved. Seeing how horrible things had been for Wave Country and how the skills, especially Kakashi and Naruto, had helped freeing a whole country from a despot had set her views straight. Things weren't as her mother had told her. The world outside was dark, and if nobody did something against it, things would stay that way. But how could she do more for her team? What skills did they need most that weren't covered by the other three? Kakashi and Naruto were extremely strong and skilled. Sasuke was also a good fighter. They had been extremely lucky, as Kakashi had pointed out in the debriefing, that their stronger opponents had either totally underestimated their strength or that they had surprised them in their sleep by their quick actions. Otherwise her team would have had to take serious injuries. She stopped in her thoughts. Perhaps that could be an area for her to help. Neither Kakashi nor Naruto nor Sasuke had any medical jutsus. She knew there were techniques medic nins learned, and being skilled enough to treat the more common wounds in the field would be very useful for her team. She would have to talk to Kakashi-sensei what he thought about it. In the Hokage's office meanwhile, Kakashi and Naruto discussed with the Hokage what steps needed to be taken next. The Umbu had left again on orders of the Hokage to give the group privacy. As that was quite normal by now, they didn't wonder. We just avoided more suspicion regarding you, Naruto. I also think Sasuke suspects something with how he looked at the pictures of the Hokages. Kakashi said. Yes, I noticed that. But for now he only has suspicions. I also think he has come to realize that he isn't as alone in his situation as he thought he was. He finding out about how the Uzumaki clan died has put things into perspective for him. Naruto replied. I think it has. But we need to make sure nobody finds out too soon. We can be pretty sure IWA won't know how their ninjas disappeared for a while. And they can't do anything openly as we didn't attack and the whole of Wave Country is backing us up. The neighboring countries of Wave will soon find out about what Konoha did for Wave Country, and it will give us very good publicity. I think we won't be able to prevent the news that we have an Uzumaki in Konoha from spreading. Especially not considering that the bridge is covered with your seals. But as long as nobody knows more, it will be easy to keep going like we are until the Chunin exams in 4 months. Wave is small and I don't expect the news to spread fast into the regions we don't want them to go for now. Kakashi said. Yes, I think you are right. But just in case I will send Jiraiya a message to keep an ear open for that happening. What I wanted to inform you about is that thanks to the new seals our ninjas are using out in the field now, there are rumors about us having a new seal master in Konoha. Though nobody knows more about it. I will do nothing to distract the information in the village, but all the Chunin and Jonin are informed to not speak about the source of them outside their ranks. They only know about your alias Dark Phoenix anyway. The Hokage addressed Naruto. We have very good results from the teams we had on missions that used your seals. They praised the variety of new seals they got and described the ways they managed to use them. I'm very satisfied with how much they improved the success rate for our missions. Thank you, Grandpa Hokage. Naruto said, smiling. You earned it, Naruto. Next, you said you got Sensei's sword back from Aoi Rokusho when you killed him. The Hokage asked. Yes. I didn't mess around in that fight at all. I used the Flying Thunder God Jutsu and Raise Non to quickly kill him. The sword is a family heirloom and it angered me that somebody like him had it. Naruto said. That's good to know. I will keep that part out of the official report. Try to not openly use the sword in Konoha before the Chunin exams. I don't want more paperwork that is so unnecessary. The Hokage requested. I will do so. I want the sword to be a surprise in the exams. Naruto agreed. Good, Naruto, you are dismissed. Take the next 3 days off and relax. The Hokage said. Naruto bowed and left the office. How is your opinion of their development, Kakashi? The Hokage asked. I'm very happy with how the mission helped them all to develop. Sasuke seems to have realized that not everything is always about him. Sakura has been given a reality check when she saw the misery of the people of Wave Country, and Naruto finally got some recognition for his achievements. His teammates also know now that he is Jonin level and have taken a different approach to him, Sasuke especially. I think he has realized that he was too short-sighted in his goal to kill Itachi. Seeing how strong Naruto got gave him an idea how much stronger he needs to get before he can face Itachi. I also sat him down after his Sharingan awoke and told him just what danger depending on the eyes poses to him. I think he understood. I will keep an eye on him. He is on a good way now, but I will need more time to be completely sure about his psyche. I will see how Sakura now behaves in training. She was the one most influenced by the situation in Wave Country. To have seen the misery and see just what we could do to change it and why we were able to do so had a huge impact on her. If we are lucky, this mission was enough to finally break her fangirl mentality. I don't expect her to give up her feelings for Sasuke, but perhaps she will put them on hold to first get stronger. Her training definitely showed when she and Sasuke were tasked to take out the thugs in the city. Having her first kills has shaken her, but she got over it, and I think she could then appreciate just how much the assassination mission during the night had cost Naruto, who had to deal with about 700 kills during that night. I wish there would have been a way to not have Naruto do that part of the mission, but there was no other way, as I can't produce that many shadow clones and transform them into mice or squirrels to not stand out. He dealt with the guilt as it was to be expected from a rookie. He was sick to his stomach that night and solemn over the next few days. He understood why it was necessary and didn't let it influence his performance during the rest of the mission. I talked to all my genin about their first kills, and I think they dealt well enough with the fact. I think continuing our training routine with the occasional C-rank missions will work perfectly for the time being. I want to keep my team as isolated as possible for the next month to give them time to get used to the new situation. So if you have a C-rank that will take us out of the village for some time, that would be great. I can train them during the mission in some physical exercises. They train with the resistance seals the whole time anyway, even if we don't do training explicitly. Kakashi said. Yes, I can see the need for that. We have indeed a C-rank that I can hold back for your team to take in 4 days. How is your own training coming along? The Hokage asked. Very well, Hokage-sama. I have finished my work to get more variations of my Reikari for 2 of them. I have some more ideas to expand my jutsu repertoire with lightning-based jutsus, and have mastered 100 of my copied jutsus that before were only kept to a normal knowledge level. I will see to it that over the next 2 months I get to 300 jutsus on mastery level. Physically I am back at the level where I was during my Umbu days. I will have to talk to Naruto for a method to seal off the use of my Sharingan. If I was able to use the eye consciously like Sasuke can with his eyes, it would save chakra for me. Perhaps with a seal I could get the same effect. I have come to the conclusion there is very little Naruto can't do with seals if he puts his mind to it. In that way he is very much like his father. Kakashi commented. That he is. Continue your work there, Kakashi. I intend to spread the news that I intend to retire again in 2 months. I won't give your name, but many will suspect it. I will only tell the Jonin and Umbu just before the Chunin exams. These exams will be the stage for you to present your team. You know that the ability to train strong ninjas is somewhat a requirement for a Hokage. The Hokage mentioned. Yes, I do, and I don't fear anything with how my team is developing right now," Kakashi stated confidently. "Good, then you are also dismissed for the next 3 days. Just hand in your report when you report back for duty," the Hokage said, and Kakashi bowed and left the office. Sakura listened to the rants of her mother, annoyed. What did she think she was doing, criticizing how her team had done the mission? Well, the little she had been able to tell her, which was that they had freed Wave Country from Ghetto and that the mission had been more dangerous than formerly expected thanks to wrong information. How she wanted to shout at her that the civilian-born ninjas that had been their backup could have caused their deaths because they had not gone full speed to back Team 7 up. How she wanted to tell her to stop talking badly about Naruto. That he had sacrificed so much to make sure their team wouldn't have to fight hundreds of thugs. Really, her mother made it sound as if only Sasuke had done all the work. No, she had also fought and she had killed. She fully understood now why Kakashi-sensei had trained them so harshly from the beginning. Being a ninja wasn't a game, it was deathly serious. Having to realize that because they got bad information they could all have died drove home the warnings better than Kakashi-sensei's lectures could have ever done. Their team was extremely lucky that they had such a strong sensei like Kakashi. They were lucky that Naruto was already Jonin level and only lacked experience, otherwise they would have been overwhelmed. Sure, Sasuke was good, even much better than he had been at the academy, but that wasn't due to his Sharingan. It was due to having worked really hard every day since they became Team 7. It was strength that had been won in hundreds of hours of hard work. Hours she had suffered through, but she could now fully appreciate having been forced to do so. Had she been like she was at the academy, she didn't doubt that she would have been severely injured or even killed. In any case, she would have been a burden to her team. No, her mother's ideas were really wrong and she would ignore her wishes in the future. She was a kunoichi of Konoha and she was proud what she had achieved so far already. She would find a way to better support her team in the future, playing to her strengths. She had looked up famous kunoichis in Konoha and the most famous one was definitely Tsunade of the Sunin. If she had managed to become super strong as a medic nin, why shouldn't Sakura manage to do the same? She had perfect chakra control. It was one thing Kakashi-sensei had praised her for from the beginning. The one thing she had lacked was chakra reserves, but they were increasing every day. Sasuke was reading through some scrolls he had inherited from his clan. He had remembered that his mother had once mentioned that many of the Uchiha ninjas that learned new jutsus by copying them with their Sharingan had written down the hand signs and the way you needed to mold your chakra for the jutsu. His father had scoffed and declared most of those jutsus inferior to the jutsus that the Uchiha clan had invented themselves, which were mostly fire jutsus. Now Sasuke fully intended to round up his jutsu repertoire with those inferior jutsus. What use was a flashy fire jutsu when stealth was the only choice you had? Why should he waste loads of chakra on small fry? Just to make it look impressive? That thinking could get you killed, he had learned. He knew that he couldn't have sneaked into the base or the camp like Naruto had done. He would have had to use powerful jutsus to kill the thugs, and that would have depleted his reserves quickly. He might have been able to kill 100 or 200 with luck, but more wouldn't have worked. So he needed jutsus that worked with less chakra but were really effective. Stealth was something he had only learned the basics of. But why not learn a camouflage jutsu that had been copied in the Third War from IWA ninjas? Why not learn the hypnosis part of his eyes? Genjutsu also allowed you to surprise your opponent and strike unexpected. There were lots of ways to improve his abilities, and as the mission had shown perfectly, not always were the big guns the best ones. He also had to think about Naruto probably being related to the fourth Hokage. The picture was too similar to Naruto's looks to be a complete coincidence. From Naruto's age and what he knew about the blonde's birth date, he had been born when the fourth had died. And for some reason the adults hated Naruto massively and called him names like monster and demon brat. The only demon he could think of was the Kyuubi. Was Naruto used as a scapegoat for the attack of the fox because he had been born on the day it attacked? He could understand that if Naruto was the son or nephew of the fourth, the third would have kept Naruto's identity a secret, as children of powerful clans and families were always targets for kidnapping or assassination. Without parents to protect him, this action might have been the only way to prevent Naruto's death, even if it came at the cost of not telling Naruto about his heritage. He knew that Kakashi-sensei had been the student of the fourth, so he being responsible to teach the last remaining family of the late Hokage would make sense. Kakashi would feel obliged to teach his sensei's family. And Naruto was strong at a young age. Stronger than all others in their age group. He would take a wait-and-see approach from now on. He was on a good way to achieve his goals, he only needed to be patient. Kakashi was teaching all of them equally and they were getting stronger fast. He felt it in the team competitions against the other teams. And the late arrival of the Chunin team that had been sent to back them up had also shown that the civilian council couldn't be trusted. If they had made sure that the support came too late just because they hoped that Naruto would die without the backup, they were traitors. It was as simple as that. And if Sasuke hated one thing, it was a traitor. Itachi had seen to that. Chapter 22, Progress. It had been 2 months since the mission to Wave Country, and by now rumors were spreading slowly around in the neighboring countries of Wave. Many traders had gone to the newly freed country and seen the impressive bridge. Tajuna loved praising Team 7, especially Naruto. So the story about the new sealing specialist, Naruto Uzumaki, spread around the elemental nations. By now the Raikage and the newly appointed Mizukage had heard about the young Uzumaki. But there was nothing they could really do, and the Mizukage honestly had other things to concern herself with. She had to rebuild her village after the years of bloodline purges of the former Mizukage. Their military was in a desolate state and she would need years to get it back to the level that they could rightfully state they were one of the 5 major villages. But the isolation of Kirigakure now showed advantages. She was said that Zabuza had been killed by Kakashi Hatake. If she could have managed to convince him to return, he would have made a strong ally. And he had had 5 strong minions, 3 of them with a bloodline limit if her information was correct. Such a waste of resources. The reports stated that Konoha had arrested 4 of the minions. One of the demon brothers had been killed in a fight with Kakashi's team, and had collected the bounties for a lot of ninjas. 3 IWA ninjas, 1 AIM ninja, and Zabuza and Miizu. That was not to her liking, but there was nothing she could do. She had given out a general amnesty for those who had committed crimes against Yagura's regime. Otherwise many of her most trusted supporters would have to be persecuted. But that meant the ones in Konoha custody were out of her reach. She could only offer them to return, but with how they had interfered in a mission of Konoha, the Hokage would decide what would happen to them. And just this morning a messenger had brought the news that the Hokage planned to retire again. This time for good. She pondered who would be his successor. There were some strong ninjas in Konoha's ranks. The most probable choice would probably be Jiraiya of the Sunin, though Kakashi Hatake had been quite active with his team the past few months as well. The man was reclassified as S rank now. The Raikage was frowning over the report of his spies. Konoha was planning something big. The old Sandaime Hokage was retiring again and a new Hokage would be announced for the Chunin exams. Then there were the stories about a new seal master and an Uzumaki in the village. What was his first name? Ah, Naruto. He only had found out about the boy a week ago when a caravan of traders had come to Kumo. They had told stories about his great deeds in Wave Country 2 months ago. Obviously the boy had been a key factor in liberating the country from the business tycoon Gato. Now the former Gato company was run by Konoha. Of course they had righted the wrongs that Gato had committed and were loved for it by the people that had been suppressed by Gato. And the worst part was that he couldn't do anything about it. The change in leadership had been legally performed with all the necessary documents and contracts. Kakashi had done good work there. Additionally, Kakashi was the Jonin sensei of the team that was doing many missions that normally Chunin teams would get. He knew about 2 other C ranks that had been important. Who knew how many others that team had done? It had taken a bit of investigation, but he had their names. Sasuke Uchiha, last survivor of Konoha's most infamous clan, but the boy was not like most of his relatives. Kakashi seemed to have managed to get the arrogance toned down and had trained the boy to not be dependent on his eyes. He was dangerous to anybody below Haichunin level from the reports. Sakura Harino, while of civilian background, was said to be a promising medic nin with a knack for genjutsu. With only 4 months of being a genin, the girl was able to treat most common injuries of her team. Additionally, she was a high-level genin kunoichi, which definitely was due to Kakashi's training. Last, Naruto Uzumaki. The boy that no spy got a proper picture of. It was as if he didn't want to get known by his looks too early on. Just why would that be? All those older than 35 knew about the former Uzumaki clan and its specialization in seals. From what his own seal experts that had investigated in Wave Country and had returned yesterday had found out, he was a high-level seals expert. The seals on the bridge were really impressive. Additionally, he had killed at least Ichikawa Sansetsu. It wasn't known if Mikako Kamizuri had died by Naruto's or Kakashi's hands. The one thing he wondered about was how Konoha had managed to hide the boy for this long. The Hokage sat in the newest meeting of the village council and looked at the members of the council amused. 4 months of intensive house cleaning had definitely borne fruit. He didn't have to deal with as many useless tasks anymore. The merchants that evaded taxes or thought up taxes by their own estimation had been forced to pay heavy fines. The academy was on a good way to teach the students properly again, and the civilian part of the council was reduced to deal with civilian affairs and couldn't meddle with ninja affairs any longer. Hokage-sama, is it true that you intend to retire after the Chunin exams? A civilian counselor asked, calculating. Yes, it is true. I have done enough in my life and I want to finally enjoy my time in retirement. I have found a good successor and will present him shortly before the Chunin exams. The Hokage stated. Why aren't you telling us now? Isami Harino asked. I have my reasons. My successor needs to get some things done before he can take over, and all the publicity would only hinder his current job. He expects to be finished by the time the exams come along. The Hokage vaguely said. With how he worded it, nobody who wasn't in the know, meaning Danzo, Shikaku and Kat, the Umbu commander, would know if he meant Jiraiya or somebody else. Many would think he had chosen his student. Jiraiya was a Sunin and well known all around the elemental nations. And it was common knowledge that he ran an extensive spy network that he probably needed to get transferred to a successor. As you mentioned the Chunin exams, will the new teams participate in them? Danzo asked, giving the Hokage a bridge to distract the civilian counselors from being too nosy. From the reports I saw from Teams 7, 8, and 10, they should be ready by then. Kakashi, Kurane, and Asuma are reporting a massive increase of the Genin's abilities in the important areas of their training. We should be able to present a lot of members of our most important clans and families to the public once the finals come along. There are a lot of talented Genin this year. Guy also informed me of his intention to let Team 9 participate this year. The Hokage answered. That's good to know, Hokage-sama. Hayashi said. He only hoped his daughter wouldn't embarrass the Hyuga clan. I have heard rumors about Naruto Uzumaki being an expert with seals. The representative for the Kurama clan spoke up. Is that true? It is. Naruto's level was confirmed by Jiraiya a few months ago when he was in the village. It's no real surprise he is talented in the art. He is an Uzumaki after all. The Hokage answered. But how did he get to that level? He was the dead last of his class. A civilian counselor asked, annoyed. Secret self-study. It isn't really hard to get the materials to get started. The Academy has the basic books for Fuinjutsu in its collection, but most genin aren't interested in learning such a complex art when they start their career. They keep to nin dash, gen and taijutsu, perhaps a few weapon skills as well. Shikaku informed them. But Naruto had to clean several rooms after a prank, so for him to find the books is very probable. He only needed to borrow a few and he could have studied without anybody noticing. It's not like Fuinjutsu couldn't be used in pranks, which I guess would have been a massive motivation for him. Understandable with the treatment he got over years. Many of the ninja council nodded. They knew how good Naruto was. He had really hidden all his abilities well. Many by now knew that his promotion was only a question of time until he had the necessary experience. And all the ninjas kept a close look at the bingo books. Naruto had an entry by now after news about his involvement in the fall of Geto, the death of Zabuza and the IWA ninjas had got out. He was a C-ranked ninja in Kiri and B-ranked in Iwa's books. Probably because nobody really knew which opponents he had taken out and which ones were accounted to Kakashi. Only the Hokage really knew and he kept quiet. The 3 captured ex-Kiri nins were in the final phase of interrogation and so far, it looked like them joining Konoha. It would be great to gain 3 new bloodline limits for the village. Though the civilian counselors didn't know that yet. They would stupidly try to force the 3 into a breeding program, which wasn't at all what the Hokage wanted. Not that they had that power anyway, but they too often fell back into their bad habits and he didn't want that Kakashi would have to bother with that kind of nonsense when he took over. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura were training with their sensei again. Since the revelation of Naruto's true level, the other 2 had trained with much more enthusiasm. Naruto even acknowledged that Sakura wasn't useless anymore. She was a solid high genin level kunoichi on a good way to become a competent medic nin. Since their return from Wave Country, she had used all her free time to study medical jutsus, read up on medicine making, antidotes and poisons. She knew the anatomy book backwards and forwards and spent 2 mornings each week when Naruto and Sasuke worked on ninjutsu at the hospital learning from other medic nins how to perform the jutsus for battlefield healing. Kakashi still kept his team on the rigorous physical training program, but Sasuke and Sakura now had control over their seals all the time. Today a sparring session with teams 8 and 10 was planned. A team battle simulation. At the moment Team 7 was leading by 2 points on Team 8 with Team 10 following by 3 points. While you couldn't really call Team 7 a real team, they were a properly working unit, a fact that Kakashi was really happy about. When it counted they could perform flawless teamwork, something that made missions a lot easier. The sparring session would be in 1 hour, so they now ended their training to eat something before the session. They weren't informed how the exercise would go, they never knew beforehand to not give any team an advantage. Naruto knew that the whole team competition was a way to give him more bonds inside the village as the Hokage feared that he would run away otherwise. He had to agree that the strategy was a sound one, even if he had wished that the others his age were closer to his level. But they would need time. Naruto had planned how to turn the opinion of Konoha about him around for years. He knew the civilians would only stop tormenting him once they found out his heritage. It didn't matter to him, they weren't important. They could rot in hell as far as he was concerned, a few exceptions were to be noted like the Ichirakus and the Takashimas. His menu had been expanded a bit as the Takashimas happily sold him products from their new farm for fair prices. So now he could regularly get eggs, fresh milk, vegetables that normally were cultivated in water country and sometimes cheese from them as he had no problems giving them his money contrary to other civilian shopkeepers. He was always welcome at the farm. The ninjas were now respecting him as a comrade and that was what was important. They counted as he needed to be able to trust them in case he took missions with them in the future, which would happen. He would only be a genin for at most 2 months now that the chunin exams were approaching. All of Konoha was gossiping about the information that the Sandaime Hokage had chosen a new successor. Most thought it would be Jiraiya, but Naruto knew that it was Kakashi. And Kakashi was the better choice for Hokage. He was young, their best jonin in the village, and most importantly, he hadn't left the village for long periods of time. While Jiraiya had maintained his spy network, which was important for the village, he wasn't that well known from his constant presence, contrary to Kakashi, who was now connected with a few new very impressive missions like the liberation of Wave Country, which now was an ally of Konoha. Then there was the mission to Takigakure, where Team 7 had helped Shibuki, the leader of Taki, to end an attempt of a group of rogues to take over the village. It had started as an escort mission, a low B rank to be precise, but then the team had been tasked with cleaning the river of waste and had stayed there for a little longer. Things had then developed from there and ended with the takeover attempt. It had been a really short attempt. The attackers, even if they knew their way around Taki perfectly and tried to get Shibuki to lead them to the hero water, a powerful substance with high drawbacks, hadn't counted on how high the level of Team 7 was. Sakura had taken care of anybody who had been injured by the rebels, Sasuke and Naruto had taken out the minions of the leader who had been faced by Kakashi. The whole takeover attempt had been dealt with within 15 minutes, much to the shock of Shibuki. The man had thankfully been smart enough to realize that close ties to a village that had shinobis of that level ranked as genin, fresh out of the academy genin at that, would be very smart, and had signed a new treaty as soon as he could. The next mission had been escorting a diplomat to Bird Country only to prevent the assassination of the daimyo and returning the princess who had been sent to another country as a hostage. Naruto could only shake his head at that kind of political backstabbing. A child should grow up loved and with its family in his opinion, and he didn't hide said opinion at all. Maybe he was harsh, but damn if he let people think that any child deserved to suffer like that. The princess seemed to wholeheartedly agree with him. Some other missions that hadn't been as spectacular had also happened, but they had improved the impression that Team 7 had all around Konoha. Now they finished their lunch and walked over to the training ground where the team battles would happen. As they had enough time, they decided to simply walk and not use the body flicker that they had learned by now. Teams 8 and 10 were already at the designated training ground. They exchanged greetings and then listened to what their senseis had to tell them. All right, as you know, today is a team battle simulation. This means we will set up a mock mission which will include fighting for a common mission goal. Each team will get an area that they will have to defend. Inside that area is an item in a set location that contains secret information. The items can't be removed from their spots. The other two teams will try to steal the item from the other teams to get the information. Put together the three pieces of information will give you the code to open a safe in which your true mission goal is held. You have to bring the content of the safe to us once you have got it. The safe is kept in the middle of the areas. You have half an hour to come up with a strategy, find your own item and decide how to go about the overall mission. Until you get the signal to start, you aren't allowed in the other two teams' areas. Good luck. Kurane informed them. Each team then took a map with their area and ran there. Team 7 reached their area and Naruto quickly made a dozen shadow clones to search for the item. Okay, what's the plan? Sakura asked. We first need information where the other two teams will have their item once we get ours. It's unfortunate that we can't move the item whatever it is. It's easier to defend while moving around. Sasuke replied. Oh, we probably can still do that. We just need to set up a good decoy to our item and just take the information out of it if possible. Next to that I will see if I can open the safe without the correct code. Nobody said that we had to have the code. Naruto said. That makes sense. We have to explore the mission parameters to the fullest without breaking the rules. Sakura realized. I can set a genjutsu around the real item to keep it hidden. On top of that, I suggest setting up fake hiding places with genjutsus to confuse the other two teams. If they notice only one genjutsu, they would know it is the hiding place. With multiple options, they can't be sure. Good idea. But we will better hide the real place by normal means and use all the genjutsu ones as decoys. That way, even if one of the other teams manages to get too close to our hiding place, they won't be able to quickly find the information, which will give us a time advantage. Sasuke said. Good, I will send transformed shadow clones into the other team's areas as soon as we get the starting signal. That way we can find out their strategies and their hiding places. Once we know which locations we need to target, we will leave our item under the protection we discussed. Perhaps it is even possible to take the information out of the item or destroy it after we read it. On top of the genjutsus, we will trap the area around each real and fake hiding place thoroughly. We don't have a time limit for this test, so we can use it. If we stop the other two teams from getting information, we can win this. Naruto added and got nods from his teammates. Then one of Naruto's shadow clones dispelled, telling him that he had found the item. Alright. Let's go. Naruto said and jumped into a tree, Sasuke and Sakura closely behind him. They all heard the signal that the mission was on, and for a while nobody noticed anything. But those that had a possibility to sneak into the other's territory undetected were doing so now. That meant Shino sent his bugs out, Naruto his disguised shadow clones, and Ino possessed a mouse to go spying, while Shikamaru and Koji kept her body safe. It turned out that Shino and Naruto had the best turnout of possible hiding places for the information, as they had greater numbers of spies at their command. But, contrary to Team 7, Team 8 hadn't come up with as many decoys for their item. Sasuke, who after Naruto's clones had informed the real one where the possible locations for the item were, had sneaked into the territory of Team 8, managed to easily look through the genjutsu placed on the two places he found with his Sharingan, and he easily memorized the information inside the item. Naruto and Sakura were meanwhile distracting Team 8 until he could go back to them. Of course, using a shadow clone under transformation to look like him. The guards for the item, Kiba with Akamaru, had been easily dispatched with some of Naruto's sleeping poison senbons that he had given to Sasuke. They would be out for 10 minutes or so. Sasuke used simple stealth to get into the territory of Team 8, as using jutsus would have triggered Hinata's Byakugan or Shino's bugs. While normally Naruto was the better stealth user, with Genin as the opponent, Sasuke could easily hold his own. Especially after all the additional stealth training he had done to catch up somewhat to Naruto. And considering that Shino could spread his bugs far to take out Naruto's normal clone strategy, it made sense to let them think that Naruto was trying to get their information while Sasuke did the deed. In Team 10's area things were a bit easier, as none of them was a sensor type or a tracking type. Naruto's clone slipped past Shikamaru and Koji in the thick underbrush and went to their hiding place. Ino was still out from using her jutsu. The clone noticed several traps around the item. Well, nothing a mouse couldn't get through, and they only needed the information. They didn't need to steal it. So the clone opened the item after several failed tries and memorized the information. Then it closed the item again and dispelled. Normally Team 10 shouldn't even notice anything wrong. Sakura was fighting Hinata, trying to keep her from getting too far into their territory to see the decoys. Now their decision to make it really difficult to find their real item paid off. And by now Sakura had a way to counter Hinata's gentle fist style with the medic nin style of fighting. She dodged whenever Hinata tried to land a hit and countered with her just recently learned chakra scalpels. She had seen what Naruto could do with his version of that technique, and had therefore decided that it would be a good way to defend herself. A medic mustn't fall, because if the medic fell, there was no one that could treat the team after a fight. So a major part of her medic training, coupled with the dodging exercises that Kakashi had them regularly do, had made her a really hard to hit target. Not that that meant that Hinata was easy to beat. No, the formerly totally shy and insecure Hyuga girl had greatly improved since the academy. Sakura knew that if Hinata landed a good hit she would be in a world of trouble. Meanwhile Naruto and Shino were fighting to get the upper hand. Naruto, knowing about the sense of smell that the bugs used to orientate themselves, had put up several traps where pheromones of female beetles were spread around. Therefore Shino had to override the instincts of his bugs, which cost him more concentration and chakra than normally. But he made up for that disadvantage with his chain sickle. Since Naruto had told the others what he thought would be good to include in their fighting styles, they had worked on that. Shino had turned out to have a talent for the chain sickle and used it with deadly accuracy. Hinata had learned many genjutsu from Kurane and some ninjutsu from Kakashi when they had switched senseis for a week to profit from each jonin's specialty training. Kakashi was the specialist for ninjutsu, Kurane for genjutsu and Asuma for weapons. Naruto was really happy that his comrades were getting stronger as he knew that there were serious threats outside, waiting to attack Konoha in the very near future. If they were stronger than they would be with only their team's sensei training them, he would fully support the way this was achieved. Naruto had found out in the root archives that a group of S-ranked missing nins, including Itachi Uchiha, was taking several high-ranking missions for villages like Iwa and the smaller villages that couldn't afford to train high-ranking ninjas or who simply didn't have the means to train talented ninjas up to that level. It was concerning that a group existed that was made of such strong ninjas. If they ever decided to work against the villages, it could become a major problem. Sasuke joined the fight as soon as he returned from his mission, which meant he took the place of the transformed shadow clone, and together they forced Shino and Hinata to retreat for now. Sasuke's short barely noticeable nod informed Naruto and Sakura that he had got the information from Team 8 and that they could now go on to open the safe. It wasn't as easy as they had hoped. While it had been no problem to get Team 10's information, Shikamaru had seemingly come up with a plan to foil any team that got the complete set of information before them. Naruto had a good counter for it though. Shikamaru was limited in the use of his shadow jutsu due to his chakra reserves. So Naruto let several of his clones be caught by the shadow while him, Sasuke and Sakura went to open the safe to get the prize and win the mission scenario. Sasuke supported the clones with distant attacks on Team 10, forcing Koji to stay away. Ino didn't have much on the offensive part besides weapons, which Sakura made sure to deflect. Naruto, being the one with the most practice in opening safes, quickly put together the code and opened the door. Inside was a set of scrolls with elemental symbols. One for each element. He took them out and then called out to his teammates to get to the Jonins to finish the simulation. Now Team 8 was also there, trying to assist Team 10 in stopping Team 7 from winning. It was hard to fight 3 against 6. But in the end Team 7 managed to save the scrolls to the meeting point. Very well done, Team 7, you win this round. Asuma called out once Team 7 was in the safe zone. The 3 showed different states of condition. Naruto looked as if he wasn't even breathing hard, which was easy to understand considering his stamina and skill. Sasuke was looking a bit worse for wear and was sending lightning chakra over his body to shake of the last persistent bugs that Shino had managed to put onto him. Sakura looked worst of the 3, but she had the least cuts or bruises. Finally the other 2 teams arrived. Kiba glared at Sasuke, a mark on his neck showed that he had been hit with a senbon before, on top of having some cuts and bruises. Hinata's jacket was a bit singed and Shino's showed cuts. Ino was breathing hard, Shikamaru looked exhausted and Koji had a bruise on his cheek. This test was so unfair. Naruto could make more shadow clones than any of us were able to counter. Ino complained. We should have put that into consideration and worked together against Team 7 from the start. If we had taken out Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura together we could have fought out who got the scrolls between us. It would have been the only way to get a chance to win this. Shikamaru analyzed. You are correct. Having Naruto on Team 7 was an unfair advantage the team had. Kakashi confirmed calmly. But this setup was so that you could try to work around it. You won't always have the advantage of being up against opponents that are roughly your own level. It can happen that missing nins join bandits or start bandit groups themselves. Especially after the bloodline purges that Kiri started, there are some former Chunin or the rare Jonin that could become your opponent on a mission. The trick to work around that is finding a weakness or overwhelming said strong opponent somehow. The genin nodded. By now they all knew that Naruto was Jonin level. He didn't lord it over them though, and gave helpful suggestions how they could improve their skills themselves. It was slow going, but with the subpar training that the academy had given them over the years compared to real shinobi training, they were doing really well. Now we have planned one last scenario before we let you enter the Chunin exams in about 2 months. Kurane said, causing them all to pay close attention to her. This will be an exercise that will put all members of your teams against Naruto. Naruto looked up surprised. Naruto, you will be given something to keep safe from them. You can use all your skills. The intention of this setup is simulating that a spy stole important information from the village. They will have to work together to catch you and retrieve the information. In the scenario, you are forbidden to use more than 5 clones at the same time to make it more realistic, because no normal spy could ever match your chakra reserves. Kurane explained. How long do they have to find and catch me, and how long do I have to prepare for my part? Naruto asked with his mission mode voice. You get 1 week to prepare your part, Naruto. The test will start next Saturday. They get 5 days to catch you. The Hokage has been informed about this, so we don't have to fear any interference from outside parties. Asuma explained. All right. Which area can I use? Naruto asked. The whole village, the outside training grounds and the forest around the village in a 5-kilometer diameter. You are limited to non-lethal means though. Kakashi answered, and Naruto got a mean grin on his face that let Sasuke and Sakura gulp. They knew that grin. It promised pain and embarrassment. That's it for this reading. Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfictions. Looking forward to having you on board again.